All right. So, team, I'm here with Miss Sandra Payne and Barry Payne, who are flying a Comanche all the way across the world. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you.
So, you're flying across the world. How did you get this idea?
Well, it was, we've run out of long-range flying to do in the South Pacific area, and we thought, what's next? And Sandra said, well, we should fly around the world. And I said, well, why not? Let's go do it.
Now, she was telling me you guys have flown this Comanche over some pretty open expanses of water, haven't you? Just in the past 10 years.
We have, and we live in New Zealand, and anywhere you want to go seriously outside New Zealand, you've got a lot of water to fly over to get to the next bit of land or country. So, we're quite used to flying over water, and in fact, I bought the Comanche so that we could do just that with ease. And, yeah.
So, what was it about the? I've flown the Comanche, and I know I fell in love with it as soon as I started flying it. But what was it about the Comanche that you were looking for, that you said that's the right airplane to do this?
Well, it wasn't my choice to begin with. I was looking for an aeroplane that we could do just what we're doing now with, comfortably. And a good friend of mine said, well, you need a Comanche. And I said, no, I don't, thinking they were too old. But when I looked at the performance specs, he was right. And this Comanche it's a light aeroplane. We can carry the fuel load and ourselves and some very light baggage and survival equipment and take off at gross weight.
Now, Miss Sandra, you're also a pilot, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So how do you manage the workload or the planning going across the ocean and such an endeavor?
Barry and I fly as a crew, and we decided we'd look at what our strengths and weaknesses were, and so he does all the takeoffs and landing and twiddling with the autopilot. I manage the systems and the fuel and the human factors, making sure our oxygen levels are at the right level, hydration, all the things that I call housework on the flight. And together, I think we fly as a pretty nice team.
Yeah. Well, that's the perfect marriage too, isn't it?
A very good one, actually. Yeah, so we've been married 50 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
I've been flying 50 years. And we've got 50 flights around the world.
And 50 years at Oshkosh as well.
Yeah, so
the stars have aligned this year to do this, right?
Yeah, certainly have.
Now, what kind of planning? We were talking a little bit about weather planning, just in what time of year do you go, but what kind of planning considerations does it take to go across the world?
Well, obviously, fuel is the big criteria. Avgas is not as available as it used to be many years ago. So our routing is primarily around where the fuel's available. And then, of course, where it's... In many cases, we just want to go to those places and have a look. So that really set our planning.
Now, you were saying that you've crossed the equator a couple of times now.
We will do. We've crossed it once, and when we go back, we'll cross it again.
And no major weather problems or challenges?
When we came up through the intertropical conversion zone, we were expecting a little bit of turbulence and maybe not such a good flight, but we were blessed and we had a really nice smooth ride. The interesting thing is you could see the pattern ahead of you, and the clouds were quite open, so we were allowed to, just go around them and keep going. So it was a pretty nice flight.
Now, what's the longest leg that you're doing that is over water, or the furthest from an airport that you will be?
We've already done that. It was from Guam to Kagoshima in Japan, and that was a 9-hour flight over water. And it really was over water. There wasn't a bird, a fish, a plane, or an island anywhere along the line. But it was a good flight, and we really enjoyed it.
Have you made any special modifications to the airplane for this trip?
No, really, it's the aeroplane as we use it every time we fly. It has, as a Comanche, it has an extra fuel tank in the back, but that's an STC fuel tank for the Comanche. So we've got 140 gallons, which gives us about 11 and a half hours. And so literally, and I maintain it, so I'm the engineer as well.
Great.
So we literally pushed it out of the hangar, put our survival gear on board, and set out.
That's great. And can you describe the route a little bit? So you've left New Zealand, and what's the overall plan?
We left New Zealand on 28th of April, and we've allowed ourselves a 6-month window to do the trip. We went from New Zealand to Australia, Australia to Papua New Guinea to Guam, Guam to Japan, 3 stops in Russia, and then across to Nome in Alaska. And we've done a bit of a tiki tour, I think you would call it, in the USA, and we went out to New York, and then we went down to Tulsa in Oklahoma, and then back on up here to Oshkosh. So this is kind of about halfway. From here we go into Canada, over to Goose Bay, up to Greenland, Iceland, and into Scotland, England. And then we're hoping to go to Switzerland, Poland, and then to Moscow. And from Moscow we'll go across Russia and into Vladivostok, and then down south home from there.
That's a amazing endeavor that you're taking on. And one of the things that we were talking about earlier was the community aspect of aviation, and how when someone takes on an effort like this, suddenly people start helping you from all over, don't they?
Look, aviation, the general aviation community is worldwide, is smitten with exactly the same virus, and so there's no known antidote, and you just enjoy it. And so it doesn't matter where you are. The only difference might be a bit of language, but that's quickly overcome by the fraternity of aviation. Yeah, we have met so many lovely people across all of the countries we've visited so far, and all I can say is if that was the world, it's a nice place.
I agree, and Oshkosh is the best place to experience that, with people from all walks of life and every country and every kind of airplane here, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, no, amazing. So it's our second visit to Oshkosh. And I can say bringing our aeroplane here has been one amazing experience, and we're only halfway through.
Well, I wish you all the best, and we actually always end with one question, and since you're both pilots, I'll ask both of you. If you could fly any airplane in the world, current, past, future, and money was no object, other than your beautiful Comanche, because I did take a look at it, it's beautiful, what airplane would that be?
I think here at Oshkosh I've actually fallen in love with the Spartan Executive. And I think I wouldn't mind giving that one a go. Yeah.
And me, I couldn't go past a Mustang. Have to have it to match my motor car.
Well, I think you guys should pass out your cards and your little brochure over there in the Vintage and Warbirds area, and you may get the chance before you take off on Thursday, right?
Yeah. And thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to perhaps meeting up again in the future. But if you ever come down under, do come and see us.
I absolutely will. I have your contact information, and you're leaving here Thursday. So if anybody is listening over in Europe and anywhere on that route that they mentioned, look them up on their website, which I saw, and you can actually, what's the website again?
BazFlyer.com.
And that's Baz, Bravo Alpha Zulu, flyer.com. And you can follow their progress. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.